The US weighs Somaliland's future, a decision that could reverberate far beyond the Horn of Africa. In Washington, a once marginal debate has become urgent. Should the United States recognize Somaliland as an independent nation? The question is no longer theoretical, it's now a matter of real-world policy with global implications. The stakes are high. This decision could reshape US policy in Africa, impact Red Sea security, and alter the balance of power in a region critical to global trade and military strategy. It could also intensify competition with China, as both superpowers vie for influence and access to strategic ports and resources. Somaliland, with its stable government, democratic elections, and pro-Western stance, stands out as a potential partner amid regional instability and ongoing conflict. Yet recognition risks destabilizing Somalia, empowering extremists, and potentially fueling violence that could spill across borders. It could also alienate key allies who oppose redrawing borders and challenge the African Union's long-standing policy on territorial integrity. For over 3 decades, Somaliland has operated as a country in all but name, building its own institutions, holding elections and maintaining peace, yet it remains unrecognized and isolated on the world stage. The US now faces a pivotal choice: reward Somaliland's democratic achievements and gain a strategic ally in a volatile region, or risk igniting a volatile region and setting a precedent that could unravel Africa's borders, with consequences that may be felt for generations. The Somaliland question is one of the most compelling and perilous foreign policy challenges of our time, demanding careful consideration and bold leadership. To understand the debate, we must look at Somaliland's unique history. Once a British protectorate, Somaliland gained independence in 1960, only to unite with Somalia days later, a union that quickly soured. Decades of marginalization and brutal conflict under Siad Barre forged a distinct national identity. In 1991, as Somalia collapsed, Somaliland declared its independence, restoring its sovereignty. Since then, it has built functioning democratic institutions, held peaceful elections, and maintained stability in a turbulent region. Despite these achievements, Somaliland remains unrecognized, excluded from global forums and financial institutions. Its people have developed a culture of resilience and self-reliance, surviving on local resources and diaspora support. Now they look to Washington, hoping their long wait for recognition is nearing an end. Somaliland's rise in Washington's foreign policy circles is no accident. Over the past few years, its profile has steadily grown, drawing the attention of policymakers and analysts alike. The Trump administration's transactional approach, combined with the intensifying rivalry with China, has prompted a major rethink of US interests in the Horn of Africa. American officials have been forced to reconsider old alliances and look for new partners in a rapidly changing landscape. China's military base in Djibouti and its expanding influence across the region have alarmed US strategists, who now see the Horn of Africa as a critical front in the global competition for power and influence. Somaliland, by contrast, has aligned itself with the West, even establishing diplomatic ties with Taiwan, a move that signals its willingness to stand apart from China's orbit and embrace democratic partners. The Red Sea's mounting security challenges, especially the recent surge in Houthi attacks on commercial shipping, have made Somaliland's strategic location even more valuable to the US and its allies, who depend on these vital maritime routes. Talks are now underway about a possible US military facility near Berbera, which could offer Washington a new and much-needed foothold in the region, enhancing both security and influence. Conservative think tanks and key Republicans have championed Somaliland's cause, pushing the debate into the mainstream and urging the US government to reconsider its long-standing policy of non-recognition. The convergence of strategic necessity and ideological alignment has made US recognition of Somaliland a real possibility, with momentum building in both political and diplomatic circles. What was once unthinkable is now on the table as Washington weighs the risks and rewards of a bold new approach in the Horn of Africa. The case for recognizing Somaliland is both principled and pragmatic, rooted in both values and real-world interests. Somaliland is a rare democratic success in a region plagued by conflict and extremism, where free and fair elections are the exception, not the rule. Its regular elections, peaceful transfers of power, and vibrant civil society stand in stark contrast to Somalia's ongoing instability and violence, offering hope for a different future in the Horn of Africa. Recognition would reward these achievements and formalize a security partnership, potentially allowing a US military presence at Berbera, a strategic port on the Red Sea that could help secure vital shipping lanes and counter piracy. Somaliland's disciplined security forces have kept extremists like al-Shabaab at bay, making it a proven and reliable ally in the fight against terrorism and instability. Recognition would also counter China's growing influence in the region, as Somaliland has rejected Beijing's overtures and instead aligned itself with Taiwan and the West, signaling a clear preference for democratic partnerships. Economically, it would unlock access to international finance and investment, opening the door to development and tapping into Somaliland's untapped resources, from minerals to its strategic location. There's a moral argument too. After decades of self-governance, sacrifice, and building their own institutions, Somalilanders believe they've earned the right to choose their own future and be recognized by the world. For many, US recognition would be a powerful statement in support of democracy, self-determination, and the principle that people should decide their own destiny. The stakes are high, but so are the potential rewards for Somaliland, for the region, and for the values the US claims to champion. But the arguments against recognition are equally serious. Unilateral US recognition could destabilize Somalia, jeopardizing years of counter-terrorism cooperation and risking a resurgence of al-Shabaab. The African Union's principle of respecting colonial-era borders was designed to prevent endless secessionist conflicts. Recognizing Somaliland could set a precedent for other separatist movements across Africa, threatening regional stability. Key players like Djibouti and Egypt might view US recognition with suspicion, complicating vital security partnerships. The Arab League and regional allies would likely oppose the move, isolating the US diplomatically. Internally, Somaliland faces its own challenges. Clan disputes and tensions in its eastern regions could be exacerbated by sudden recognition. Critics argue for continued engagement without recognition, encouraging dialogue between Hargeisa and Mogadishu. Rushing into recognition could shatter the very stability that makes Somaliland attractive. Somaliland has actively lobbied Washington, presenting itself as a solution to US concerns in the Horn of Africa. Its representative office in D.C. operates as a de facto embassy, building relationships with Congress and the executive branch. Republican lawmakers like Ted Cruz and James Risch have championed Somaliland's cause, introducing supportive legislation. Somaliland officials engage with influential think tanks, shaping the policy debate and highlighting their democratic credentials and strategic alignment with the US. The Somaliland diaspora in America plays a key role, advocating for recognition and sharing their homeland's story. This combination of high-level diplomacy, intellectual engagement, and grassroots activism has kept Somaliland on the US agenda. When Washington began searching for new solutions in the region, Somaliland was ready with a compelling case. Their efforts have made them impossible to ignore. The debate took a dramatic turn when Somaliland and Ethiopia signed a deal granting Ethiopia access to Somaliland's coast in exchange for possible recognition. Somalia denounced the agreement, escalating tensions and threatening regional conflict. Egypt, Turkey, and others backed Somalia, fearing the precedent of redrawing borders. Turkey brokered a de-escalation, but the episode exposed the volatility of the region. For US policymakers, the deal showed Somaliland's willingness to act boldly and Ethiopia's desperation for sea access. Some see potential for regional integration, while others see a warning of the chaos recognition could unleash. The Ethiopia-Somaliland deal is a case study in the risks and rewards of changing the status quo. Any US decision will have immediate, far-reaching consequences. As of late 2025, US policy on Somaliland hangs on the Trump administration's next move. Two paths lie ahead: full diplomatic recognition or incremental engagement. Full recognition would mean opening an embassy in Hargeisa and championing Somaliland's place in international organizations. This would be a major victory for Somaliland and a strategic win for the US, but would likely sever ties with Somalia and anger regional partners. The cautious path involves opening a consulate or liaison office, upgrading ties without formal recognition. This would secure strategic benefits while trying to avoid a diplomatic crisis. However, it might satisfy no one. Somaliland wants full recognition. Somalia would see any upgrade as a threat. The administration faces a central dilemma: bold action or cautious compromise. The world is watching Washington's next move. The Somaliland debate is more than a diplomatic formality. It's a decision with profound consequences for the Horn of Africa and international norms. At stake, the right to self-determination versus the sanctity of established borders. Somaliland's story is one of resilience and democratic achievement, but the risks of recognition are real, potentially destabilizing Somalia and inspiring other secessionist movements. The US must weigh the opportunity to gain a democratic ally and counter China against the danger of igniting regional conflict. Maintaining the status quo avoids crisis but ignores Somaliland's progress and US strategic interests. The choice is a defining test for American foreign policy. The outcome will shape the future of 6 million Somalilanders and send a message about America's priorities in the 21st century.